KETV Newswatch 7, chronicling the stories impacting our community. Stories making a difference. Stories that matter to you. This is KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle.
It's graduation season. This weekend, thousands of students graduated from the University of Nebraska, Omaha, and UNL. And across the country, about 2 million more will get their diplomas in the next couple of weeks. But the real question, isn't whether they have a job necessarily, but how much college debt they're leaving with. Good morning. I'm Rob McCartney. You're watching KETV Newswatch 7's Chronicle. Well, this morning we're taking a closer look at the high cost of higher education. In just a few minutes, we're going to talk with the author of the book, Screw College Debt. First, I want to take a look at the numbers. According to the latest data, the average graduate will leave school owing more than $35,000. That is the highest in history. Not only is college debt rising, but so are the number of students getting loans. In 2015, 71% of graduates took out loans to finance their education. That's compared to 64% 10 years ago and 45% 20 years ago. Then there's the issue of paying those loans off. 1 in 4 students either delinquent or have defaulted on their student loans. Not all that surprising when you consider the average starting salary for someone with a bachelor's degree is $45,000, only $15,000 more than someone who has just a high school degree. So what's the solution? Well, some kids are going to community college to get their core requirements out of the way. Those 2-year schools, significantly cheaper than 4-year schools. But students say the cost of college is really daunting.
Made $40,000 in our lifetimes, let alone 1 year. So obviously that is a huge stress point.
College should be free. You shouldn't put a price on education.
I would like to see them give breaks to corporations that hire people that have loans and help forgive those loans.
With the total cost of education as it is right now, it's totally impossible for someone to work their way entirely through school.
It kind of has been an ongoing joke on campus. It's not really that funny that, I might as well get hit by a car so I can get my tuition paid for.
And a new report from the College Board says tuition is 40% higher at 4-year public colleges than it was 10 years ago, 29% higher at 2-year colleges, 26% higher at private 4-year universities. Okay, to put that in perspective, 40 million Americans now have student loans and owe an astounding $1.2 trillion. So, how do you save for school? That is a question all parents ask themselves, especially as their children enter high school. But is it one you should be asking when you first become parents? And then what gives? What's the priority? Should you save for retirement and your future or your child's? KETV Newswatch 7's Kent Waistcott takes a closer look.
There we go. All right.
Get your jacket on?
Let's get her jacket on now.
For 5-year-old Will, preparing for school means a jacket and backpack on his way to kindergarten. But his parents, Tony and Lexi, are already thinking about college, or at least how they'll pay for it.
Room, board, tuition, and fees, and the idea of that is very overwhelming.
All right, let's hold hands. Here we go.
Families everywhere share the same concern because while most household incomes remain fairly constant, tuition costs are on the rise. The newest College Board report out this month put the cost of public college tuition and fees alone nationally at $9,400 per year in-state, nearly $24,000 out-of-state, and more than $32,000 for the average private college.
Even though the costs may start to skyrocket or have started to skyrocket, the finite funding sources are what they are. The income in the household is what it's going to be.
Northwestern Mutual financial advisor Andre Gordon says that can lead to a tough choice for families trying to save for both their children's education and their own retirement.
It's hard to fully picture what retirement will be like.
It's just so far out for me that it's hard for me to envision it, but it is something that I am concerned about.
The Browns say they're trying to plan for their own future while at the same time also planning for Will's. But they also know it's only natural when it comes to family finances for many parents to make their children's future the priority.
I think emotionally it's always easier for a parent to say, I shouldn't put myself first, I should put my child first.
But Gordon says that may be a mistake, one that a lot of people make.
We typically advise them to make the priority themselves first.
Is that human nature? Do they tend to do that?
Not all the time. You know, typically they're wanting to make sure that their kids have the best.
Many financial experts say that when it comes to saving for the future, retirement comes before college for several reasons. First, there are loans, grants, and other options available to help cover the costs of education.
With retirement, there's not a lot of other options other than you creating your own plan yourself.
Also, the cost of education may be shared. While parents may not want to burden children with too much debt, it's true that many children help fund their own education. Plus, putting retirement savings first might allow you to financially help your children or maybe your grandchildren further into the future. But putting all of your savings in the college basket and not funding your retirement, Gordon says, could do just the opposite, leaving your then-grown children to spend some of their retirement savings on your retirement.
Children may have to step in and help financially their parents in ways that they didn't plan for.
There are a lot of complicating factors, and everyone's situation is different. But in the end, the wise financial choice for many parents could be the one that seems the most unnatural.
If the choice is between you and your kids, certainly as much as you love them, take advantage of putting yourself first in that situation.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, buddy. Love you.
Again, that was Ken Wainscott reporting. Joining me now is Marco LeRoc. He is author of the book, Screw College Debt, How to Go to College Without Breaking the Bank. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on the show this morning.
You bet. Tell me a little bit about your background. You're from Togo.
Exactly.
When did you come here and why?
So I came in the U.S. back in 2004. Seems like a long time ago.
It's only 12 years.
I know, but it seems like a long time ago.
And so why'd you come here?
So I came here for higher education.
Okay.
You know, went to Bellevue University. Right. So then while I was in Bellevue University, you know, my parents, I was fortunate enough to be getting some little money for my education. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was going to be forever.
Right.
But then it stopped.
They stopped. They cut you off?
Yeah, it stopped.
All right. And so then what happened? You got into debt.
So then, yeah, so I had to figure out, like, you know, because in life, when you don't have option, when you don't have too many options, mm-hmm. you have to figure out a way. Because I was an international student, I cannot qualify for financial aid. I cannot go borrow money. So what I did back then was, like, you know, I transferred to Metro Community College because it was cheaper. Mm-hmm. So I get my associate degree. You know, I stayed home for 1 year. I worked 2 jobs, and then went back to Bellevue to get my bachelor. So that was my strategy. And then I graduated debt-free.
How can you graduate debt-free? That's remarkable because you were significantly in debt, right?
Correct.
How far and how'd you get there?
Well, you know, because, to be honest with you, I was not a responsible kid back then. Like many other college students, you know, I was having fun, you know, sure. no responsible with money. But then, you know, I put myself back up, and I was so fortunate to have some mentors who got me out. So then I told myself, you know, I had to be responsible with money. Mm-hmm. So I started budgeting, you know, I started cooking. I quit not going out too much. So all those little things.
I see, okay.
And then working those 2 jobs have helped me too. I was working at Walmart and Taco Bell at the same time back then. It was tough.
Did you save all your money, or did you just, like, portion some of it out,
well,
save some, spend some?
Save some, spend, but I was paying as I go. Okay. That was my strategy. I was like, you know, every semester I have to have the money to pay for it, so I have to pay as I go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then you wrote this book, Screw College Debt. Why'd you write the book?
So first of all, you know, I wrote my first book, Cashing with Your Money.
Okay, right.
Because like I mentioned earlier, I was bad with money. But then, you know, when I figured out things out, I told myself I need to help others. I cannot just keep the information to myself, right? Mm-hmm. Right. So that's what triggered me to write my first book, Cashing with Your Money, which is pure about financial literacy education, why it's so important, okay. Right? So I started going to high school, university, talking about the importance of financial literacy education, how you should budget, save, you know, be financially responsible at a younger age. But what happened was, every time I go to those colleges, I keep hearing the issue of college debt. A lot of college students, like, you know, worrying about college debt. So I was like, you know, maybe I need to be part of the solution. So I started doing some research. But what triggered me the most was I was on a plane one day, and I met a 22-year-old kid. He has $142,000 debt, $142,000. Wow. Yes. And he was so out of it. And he just dropped out. He didn't even graduate. And after our conversation, he told me you should write a book about college debt. And I told him, I said, I will. Okay. So that would trigger me. And then, you know, from there, you know, you see on the news, you should call it debt, people are graduating, like they can find a job, you know, and it's just like terrific.
Right. We're going to talk a little bit about planning here. I want to, in that story we saw earlier, the advisor suggested that it's better to pay for your retirement before you put aside for your child's education. That seems counterintuitive to me.
Well, you know, I totally 100% agree with him.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you cannot finance your retirement. But college is, your kids have other options.
Okay.
They can find scholarships. They can pay for themselves. They can work their way through college. People always say, like, no, I don't want my kids to work, you won't focus. No. Because sometimes, like, you know, when you work hard, that's what happened to me. I was working hard. Actually, my grade has improved. When I was paying off my pocket down, what my parents were paying for me.
Now, why was that? Just made you more responsible, or
yeah,
what?
Because I know that was my hard-working money.
You had skin in the game. I see.
Exactly.
I got you. Okay, right.
You know? So, you know, retirement should always come first. After you finish matching your retirement, then if you have some money left over, yes, you can invest for your kids.
Interesting. And so when should you start planning?
As early as possible.
Really?
You know, if somebody come to me and say, hey, my kid is like, you know, about to graduate, is a senior in high school, I say it's too late. It is too late. When they're like in their diapers, that's where you should start the planning.
Really?
I have a 2 years old. When she was born, we started 529 plan right away.
Right.
$50 a month, nothing too big, but we figured out by the time she became 18, there's a lot of money out there.
Yeah, that's what we did too. But I mean, do you want to send a message? What if you had somebody come up to you and say, I didn't know this, I'm sorry, but my son or daughter's graduating high school. Is it too late for them?
Well, I mean, it's too late for 529 plan, stuff like that, but there are other way too. So, unfortunately, people just go to college. People don't plan to go to college.
Right.
That's the big difference. I can say, yeah, I'm going to UNO, but how are you going to pay for it? Why do you choose UNO versus Creighton or all this kind of stuff? There's a lot of decision to make. And I tell people all the time, you don't wait till your kids are senior high school before making those decisions. But again, if you get there, what I tell people, look towards scholarships.
Okay. Now, I want to, before we go too much on that, because that's exactly where I want to go with this next segment. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to take a closer look at where some of the money is coming from, and also the presidential candidates, they taking a stand on college debt. Going to get some definite advice from the man who wrote the book on how to avoid that debt. You're watching KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.
What we have got to talk about is making public colleges and universities tuition free. Virtually at all.
As one of the main selling points of Democrat Bernie Sanders' campaign to make college affordable by making it free. It's attracted hundreds of thousands of young voters to his campaign, but where do the other candidates stand? All right, Hillary Clinton wants to create the new college compact. It would allow those with college debt to refinance at rates currently unavailable. She wants to reduce interest rates on new student loans. She's also promised future students more aid so they'll never have to borrow money to pay for tuition. On the Republican side, Donald Trump hasn't said much about student debt, but in his 2015 book, he wrote, student loans are probably one of the only things that the government shouldn't make money from, yet it does. Ted Cruz also been rather quiet on the issue, so we look at his votes in the Senate. He supported the bipartisan Student Loan Certainty Act of 2013. That ensures all federal loans are fixed and it puts a cap on loan rates. But it does little to solve the debt crisis or the growing cost of attending college. And John Kasich, as governor of Ohio, proposed a $120 million college debt relief fund for students who agree to work at certain in-demand jobs. He also implemented a 2-year tuition freeze at state colleges and universities and increased state funding for those institutions. So, let me ask Marco LeRoc, which plan makes the most sense, or is it a hybrid of all of them?
You know, I'm just going to be neutral.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell the Frank honestly, all those great promises.
Okay.
How can we implement them? Right. The truth is, you mentioned earlier, college debt is $1.2 trillion. Actually, it's not $1.2 trillion. It's $1.3 trillion.
Oh, it's gone up that much?
It's gone up that much already.
All right.
You know, so the thing is, we have big banks out there who loan all those, who have those loans out there. Are they gonna be willing to say, hey, let's make a deal? No. You borrow that money, you should pay for it.
Right.
You know, I understand that it's a burden, but also, you know, some people take all those loans, you know, without thinking, without like, they think, you know, college is the only path to success. Right. So it's a catch-22.
Now, if you is there any limit on how much you can borrow from the government? Or can you get loans for as much as you want?
I have people tell me all the time, I'm going to keep going to college because I have those loans, so I don't want to pay for it. I'm going to keep adding to them.
Right.
So, yeah.
But you can't, when it comes to paying back, you can't file bankruptcy protection, can you?
The thing is, people need to understand also, they will chase you until you're dead. They will garnish your paycheck. They will garnish your retirement, your social security. So that is very problematic. You know, you can walk away from your house, you can walk away from your business, but you cannot walk away from your student loan. Isn't that crazy?
That is. And so let's talk about avoiding that situation altogether. You're a big fan. You mentioned earlier the 529 plans. Nebraska has the NEST program.
The NEST, correct.
Why is that so beneficial?
You know, I think it's very important, you know, for if you have a kid, like, you know, the diapers, for instance, at an early age, something called compound interest. You know, you can put as little as money as there. By the time your kids become 10, 15, you'll be surprised how much money grows. Yes, we understand that the market goes up and down, but when you look like, you know, the long run, I think it's a good move. Plus, also, you get a tax break. You know, you can deduct from your tax. So I think, you know, personally, if a parent has a mean, you know, after contribute to their own retirement, they should put like a little to their kids' 529 plan. Now, there's a question that people ask me all the time that, okay, Marco, what if my kids refuse to go to school then? Because you know that you have some penalty if you don't use that fund toward qualify
educational
expenses, right? So you can transfer that fund to another kid or to a sibling.
Okay.
If you don't have a sibling, what do you do? So sometimes I tell people, like, you know, you can have a Roth IRA. Right. Roth IRA is a good way also to pay for college. You're saving for yourself, and then you decide down the road if your kid's good to you. If you want to take a little money and pay for college, you can do it. If your kid's being a bright to you, it's like, no, you figure out your own way. You know, but I think, you know, Rob, that we should look, you know, at other ways like, you know, scholarships. What are the other ways out there before we go for the loans?
And you mentioned scholarships. I know that there are a ton of scholarships out there that students don't go after at all. Yes. What do you say to them? How do you open up their eyes?
It's so funny. You hear that term like, you know, that is an app for it, right? There's a scholarship for it. There's a scholarship for every kind of thing you can ever imagine out there. The problem is, like, many people chase the same scholarships, and there's a competition over that particular one. So I think people should, like, you know, do the homework to say, okay, this is me, Marco. Okay, I'm a person of color. First, what the scholarship does are there for me. Maybe I have certain skill. Maybe I'm left handwriting. Right, sure. The scholarship for me. Maybe I'm tall. You know, maybe I'm gay, lesbian, whatever. So there's a scholarship for everything. So people should research all those stuff first instead of going after the bigger one. And I tell people also, this small scholarship also don't have that much requirement. The 201, the 301, you can use it to pay for your book, stuff like that.
Right.
You know, and then also avoid people who are like, they're online, people will tell you, hey, you know what, pay these fees and we'll guarantee you a scholarship. That's a scam.
Oh, right.
Scholarships are always free, so you should not have to pay anything. And they cannot guarantee you that you will get it. If you see all those stuff, run away from them.
I know there's a good web page that I personally have looked at. It's called FastWeb.
I love FastWeb. It's a great resources.
Because you just plug in information.
Exactly, because it match, you put all your information in, and then it gives you scholarship that match with you personally, Rob. So you don't have to compete with Marco necessarily.
Right, and that it really is quick. I mean, and there are a ton of scholarships out there. And do you find out? Do you recommend that people go after like the $200, $300, $400 scholarships as opposed necessarily going for the 10 grand one?
I love that. I mean, you can go for the 10 grand, but also you should also go after this smallest one too. Right. In my book, I talk about this kid. You know, he told me his part-time job every day is to find scholarship. That's what he did. He applied. He told me, like, you know, a week he had to spend, like, you know, time to apply for school. That's what he did in high school, and he got a bunch of them.
Nice. And when you went to school, you mentioned you worked 2 jobs.
Correct.
Is that feasible nowadays?
Well, you know, you hear students say, like, you know, oh, you know, I can't do that, I can't do that. But the thing is, like, you know, pain is temporary.
Okay.
Pain is temporary.
Sure.
And pride is forever. Like right now, I'm proud that I don't have any college debt. Right. I have some friends around, they have a nice job, but they're struggling because the truth is, Rob, yes, if you have $90,000 college job, you have $40,000 income, college debt is not your only debt. If you want to start a family, if you want to own a car, there's no way you're going to come out. Right. I have people come to me all the time like, Marco, I don't know how I'm going to do it. Those are the true reality. So that's why I tell people like, hey, you should think seriously. Yes, you want to go to XYZ University, but think how much it's going to cost you, not just for 1 year, but for 4 years. It's not just about the tuition. You have books, you have living expenses, you have all those stuff add to it. And if you drop, that's not a problem. And you have kids also, instead of going for 4 years, they stay for 6 years.
Right.
So there's a lot of variables, not just the tuition, there's a lot of variables that come into place. And then the sad part is people graduating, they can't find a job because everybody's going for business administration and all those kind of stuff. You have to find a niche. You have to go for, like, you know that if I get out today, I have a job that's waiting for me.
And then if you don't, then the pain will last. It won't be just temporary. Hey, we're going to be right back with some final thoughts. First, a reminder, your comments, important part of the show. If you want to be heard, email comments to news@ketv.com. Love hearing from you, and we'll be right back. The title of the book alone may be enough to make you buy it, especially if you have children or grandchildren. It's called Screw College Debt, How to Go to College Without Breaking the Bank. And joining me once again is author Marco LeRoc. Thanks very much. First off, 3 things everyone should know about avoiding college debt.
First of all, I tell people, like, you should ask yourself, why are you going to college? How are you going to pay for it?
Okay.
And what kind of job are you going to get?
Okay.
So you should ask yourself all those questions. Very important. That will remind you, like, what kind of major I should go after.
Right.
Things like that. So I think it's very important.
So like a cost-effective major? I mean, as opposed to being an engineer and paying for that school?
Because, the truth is, there's some skills right now. I have a friend of mine, who started school called, Interface Web School. People are going to that school for 3 weeks, $7,000. And they graduate and find a job that $15,000 job. And the flip side, I have people that are graduating for $80,000 working as a customer service making $11 an hour. Oh, yeah. It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't add up.
So college is an investment, and not all investment is good, and a college is not for everyone. You have to be honest. Right. So you should ask yourself, why are you going to college in the first place? How are you going to pay for it?
What if you are already down the road?
Okay.
If you've already accumulated the debt, is it too late for you?
Well, you accumulate the debt, you can find out, like, when I graduate, where can I find a job that have a tuition reimbursement? That's one option also.
Okay.
Don't just focus on the salary, look at the benefit. That's one key. And then find out what the plans out there that can help you, prepayment plan out there, or if you qualify for your debt to be forgiven or total. If you have to go to a rural area to work, that they need some young people to come there, there's some program like that. So look to all those stuff. And then budget. And then contact your loan servicer, to find out where your loans are, because sometimes all those loans have been sold to different companies and people lost track. So find out where your loans are. And sometimes people don't understand what kind of loan they have. If it's subsidized, if it's fixed, find out all those details. Make your budget and figure out how much minimum you're gonna pay before going buying that nice car or renting that nice apartment.
Very good advice. It's a business decision. And Marco LeRoc, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, again, I want to say the name of the book is Screw College Debt, How to Go to College Without Breaking the Bank. Author Marco LeRoc, available on Amazon. You can also download it to your favorite e-reader. We will also create a link to Marco's website. It's on the KETV mobile app. Now, if you missed any part of the show or you want to watch it again, or even share it with your college student, I advise that. It's online at KETV.com. Just look for the Chronicle link under the News tab. I'm Rob McCartney. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you back here next Sunday morning for KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.